Hello, Professor Laird here, and welcome to the online American government class for spring 2023 at Bergen College. And first of all, I just want to let you know right up front, be prepared. This is not going to be a self-paced course. Going to want to be proactive on this on a daily basis. What we'll do in this class, this is the first class of the semester, that we'll be talking about the syllabus in detail for this particular course of American government. And it may sound a little bit like I ain't from around here, so let's go ahead and get that out of the way right off the bat.
Yeehaw.
Yes, I am from Texas, and actually I've never worn a hat in my life until right now, but I just thought I would kind of get in the mood a little bit. So what we'll do first is go into the syllabus and go through that in detail to make sure that we're all clear on what is going to be required for participation in this online course. Okay, so let's get, first of all, into Moodle. That's going to be the platform that everything is going to be posted on Moodle, and all the video lectures will be there as far as any other supplemental information as well. So you want to be able to get into Moodle immediately. And if you have any problems with that, contact the help desk. All right, so let's get into Moodle. This is the introduction page, and this gives you a little intro overview right here. Class, like I said, will not be self-paced. The video lectures are going to be posted each Monday and Wednesday, and you'll have all day Monday and Wednesdays to watch the video lecture and respond to a discussion forum by 9 p.m. So we'll talk about that more here in a few minutes. Here on this introduction page, we've got the announcements, and this is the announcement that I've already sent out to you right there. And then this is the syllabus right here that's attached to the introduction page. I've also sent that to you in that first announcement as well. All right, so I would recommend that you have a copy of the syllabus with you, handy, to go along with this as we discuss it, or if you've got it online that you can look at the same time. This is my email, and this is the best way to contact me, rlaird@bergen.edu. I will be available for a video conference if you want to get together to meet on anything. That will typically be on Mondays and Wednesdays as well. What I've done is set aside, I've got other online classes, and what I've done is set aside Mondays and Wednesdays for all of my online activity. I'll be available here at my station pretty much all during Mondays and Wednesdays in order to have our weekly conferences as well as any individual meetings that you may want to set up. Video lectures, as I said, will be posted each Monday and Wednesday morning. All right, so this course here is an introduction to American government. We'll be talking about the basic principles, structure, operation of our U.S. national government. We'll be focusing on national government for the most part. We'll have some comparisons here and there with state government, and obviously a little bit on foreign policy as far as the from the U.S. American government perspective. Right off the bat, we'll be talking about quite a bit of history. We're going to be looking at why we have a Constitution, what's in the Constitution. Then we'll be looking at your basic institutions of government, the three branches of government. Then we'll be looking at public opinion, parties, interest groups, economic policy, foreign policy. So we're going to be also having a paper assignment for this class where the focus will be on critical objective analysis for the purpose of learning and understanding the basic concepts of a topic of your choice. Talk about that here in a little bit. The textbook for the class is American Government, a brief introduction, and there's a the latest edition right there, the 17th edition that is required for the course. All of my lectures that come from that are shown to be, as far as from a chapter in the book, come directly from this book. Now, I do have other lectures that are supplemental to the textbook because I've been teaching this course for quite a while, and I've got some other things that I want to talk about a little bit more that the text may not delve completely into, but you will want to get that textbook, whether it's a e-book edition or a hard copy. You can also rent it, save a little bit of money there as well. Now, in addition to the textbook, I'll be posting the lecture videos, any other particular notes that are needed. The tests will also be taken on Moodle. Supplemental articles will be posted there on Moodle as well. So everything will be done through Moodle except for our weekly video conferences that I'll talk about here in a second. Those will be done through WebEx, where I will send you a link. This class is big enough to where what we're going to do is split it up into 2 sections to where half and half the class will meet on a weekly video conference that will be no more than 30 minutes, but it will be required in order to improve the interaction of this online course, which is very disconnected otherwise. Another thing we'll be doing is learning the importance of peer-reviewed academic journals. I will talk to you about what those are and show you through videos as to how to find them, why they're important, and how to cite them, because your peer-reviewed academic journals will be the foundation of your paper assignment. And you will want to learn how to access them through the library databases, because you cannot get access to these articles through Google. Now, as far as the online course participation, this is extremely important. If you're not going to be able to comply with this, I would recommend that you not take the course, because otherwise you'll fall behind. You won't do well on the test. I've been teaching this class for several years now, and every semester I have to do something a little bit more to try to get students a little bit more proactive, a little bit more engaged, a little bit more committed to the course. Otherwise, they fall by the wayside and end up failing it. So this is extremely important. It will not be a self-paced course. This class will be as interactive as I can possibly make it on a daily basis. Now, your class days are Monday and Wednesday. I'll post the videos early in the morning, and the discussion forum, usually I'll be posting that by around noon. So you'll watch that video lecture all the way through in its entirety. Before you go to the discussion forum, the discussion forums will be relatively simple. They will not require essays. They will just require a very simple 2 or 3 sentences at the most response to a fairly broad discussion question that will have something to do with that day's lecture or that day's general theme. And you will have until 9 p.m. on Mondays and Wednesdays to respond to that forum, and that will be your attendance for that day. Now, as I said, I will require weekly video conferences just to have the opportunity for me to give you any updates or clarify anything, and have the opportunity for you to ask me any questions as we're going through the course, as it is very disconnected otherwise. So one of your first assignments for the class that I'll set up on the first week of class this week, you will get together on Moodle through the forum that I set up, and y'all will decide. You can split it up. I want half the class to meet on one and another half of the class to meet at another time. So your job will be to agree on those 2 times, 30-minute block. The meetings will not be longer than 30 minutes unless somebody wants to hang around and talk talk longer, but either on Monday or Wednesday, agree to a 30-minute block in which to meet on these video conferences. So that will be your first class, your first group assignment, is determining what those meeting times will be on Monday or Wednesday. So the attendance will be taken through these discussion forums. As I said, the video lecture will be posted by 7 o'clock on Monday and Wednesday mornings, and then I will typically post the discussion forum around noon, usually no later than 1. So after you watch the video lecture all the way through in its entirety, then you will go to the discussion forum, give me a fairly simple response to that, and that's how you will be graded on attendance. Your participation grade will be 15% of the total course grade. So if I'm going to have a participation grade at all, I've got to have some sort of mechanism to do that. And this is how I've decided to do it, which helps the class be a little bit more interactive, a little bit more engaged, plus it gives me the opportunity to have a participation grade, just like I do in my classroom classes. So this will serve that function for your attendance grade. Now, just like I would in the classroom, if you don't show up for class, what I typically do is deduct 5 points from your baseline attendance grade. So just like I would in the classroom, if you miss 3 classes during the semester, your baseline attendance grade would be 85. That's where it would be as a baseline. There'd be other factors that would go into that, but same thing here. If you do not respond to a discussion forum, or if you do not watch the video lecture, deducted 5 points from your attendance grade for that particular day. Now, following instructions is extremely important, particularly for this disconnected online class. So you could have some points deducted for failing to follow the instructions. For example, on several forums, I may ask you to read the previous posts so that you don't repeat what somebody else has already put out there. And if you don't do that, then you could have some points deducted for that. So that, it's all part of the mix here, is that in order to try to grade your participation, those are some things that I would look at. But bottom line, most importantly, students are required to watch that video lecture in its entirety, all the way through, before you go into the discussion forum. Now, the video lectures, this is where you're getting another break, so to speak, because the video lectures will never be longer than about 35 to 40 minutes, maybe 45 minutes at the longest, and that's compared to 75 minutes that we would be in a classroom. So what the benefits you're getting here is that you don't have to drive to the campus and wait for the class, and the video lectures are here for you to watch online at your convenience during that day. You've got literally a 14-hour window in which to watch that lecture. But the video lectures are actually going to be shorter than what the classroom would be because they're condensed. We're not getting that opportunity for give and take in the classroom, or the Q&A, which I really miss and I really enjoy. That's one of the disadvantages of this online class, is that we're not going to have that same ability for the Q&A during the classroom where I can expound on things. But you're getting the exact same information that you'd be getting if you were sitting in the classroom. As far as the basics, you're going to be getting the exact same information on these video lectures that will be on the test. And as I said, the attendance, your participation grade, will account for 15% of the total course grade. So the burden is more on you with this online class. It's your responsibility to keep up with the lectures, keep up with your participation in the forums. The forum will be closed at 9 p.m. If you miss that deadline, you're absent, and we move on. It's just like a classroom. If you can't make it to class, you just, that happens every now and then. You just certainly don't want to make a habit of it, because that's really going to hurt your, not just your participation grade, but your test grades will be lower if you're not attending class, or in this case, if you're not watching the video lectures all the way through when they're scheduled. So students will not be emailing requests to open the discussion forum back up. The deadline is at 9 p.m. We move on to the next one. Occasionally, the discussion forum might also be a group exercise, such as the one that I'm going to set up here this week, that you'll have several days in which to get together as a class and decide what your weekly video conference meeting times will be. But occasionally I'll have a group exercise, and occasionally the forum will be in the quiz format. That will not be graded as a test. It will just still be another discussion forum, but it'll be a forum where everybody has a chance to answer their own response without the benefit of looking at the other responses. So it's just another option for the discussion forum. All right, as far as communication policy goes, again, I'm reached at rlaird@bergen.edu, and our correspondence needs to be through the Bergen school email. Your emails need to come from your bergen.edu email address as well. So you're going to want to stay proactive on this. Check your Bergen school email every day. Check in on Moodle every day. More than likely, the only times I'm going to be posting things is on Mondays and Wednesdays, but I might be sending out responses on other days, because it may not be until the next day to where I can maybe give you some feedback on your discussion forums. So you would want to check in on a regular basis. Now, being that this is an online class and we're going to be communicating primarily through these forums, you want to use the proper online behavior. That's called, we got a new word for it, netiquette. So read this carefully. Make sure you can comply with that as far as your online activity. Now let's talk about the tests. As you'll see here in a minute, there'll be 3 online tests during the course. Each one covers about 4 to 5 chapters each. So the class is broken up into 3 sections, as you'll see here in a minute. Each test will account for 20% of your grade. So all 3 of them, therefore, will be 60% of your grade. Now keep in mind, since this is an online class, I'm not going to go through the process of trying to monitor students taking a test. The test will be open book and open notes, but you have to make sure you're very clear on this. The tests will be timed, and you will have 35 minutes to complete the test in one sitting. And that's going to be somewhat challenging because there's going to be a couple of essay questions on there as well. So you will want to be prepared for the test before you start it, as you will not have time to look up answers during the test. That time limit will be somewhat challenging, like I said, so I would recommend that you prepare for this test exactly the same way as you'd prepare for a closed book test in the classroom, because you're going to want to be prepared in order to answer those questions within that time period allowed. And I will be giving you a study guide prior to the test that will basically be telling you what's going to be on the test, so you'll know what to prepare for. So that's how it's going to work. The essay, well, I'll talk about that here in just a second. The test will be posted around noon on the day of the test, and they will also be on Mondays or Wednesdays. So we'll look at the schedule here in a minute, and you'll know exactly what days those tests are going to be on. Just like every other Monday, Wednesday, the deadline to complete the test will be 9 p.m. on that day of the test. So therefore, you'll need to start the test at least by 8:25 that evening, because it will shut off at 9 o'clock and you'll want to get that full 35 minutes for the test. Now, the test is going to have a variety of questions, just like my classroom tests. Could be multiple choice, matching, fill in the blank, true, false, short answer. And then each test will have at least 2 short essay questions. Now, obviously, on an online test, I'm not going to have you elaborate as much as you probably would in a classroom test where you'll have the 75 minutes to do that. The short answer questions will require, however, the student to demonstrate a fundamental understanding of what is being asked there in your own words. So you don't want to just copy and paste bullet points. This is extremely important. If you just go into the lecture slides or looking at the video lecture notes, and if you just copy and paste or just recite word for word the bullet points that are shown in the lecture slides, that will not be adequate, because when a student does that, there's no way for me to tell that they understand what they're copying and pasting. So you don't want to copy and paste anything. You don't want to just regurgitate word for word the bullet points that are shown on the lecture slides. You want to take notes during the video lectures. That will help you fill out your answers for a short essay question. And you'll see what I'm talking about when you, first of all, watch the video lectures, and then you see the study guide, and I'll tell you, here's a potential short essay question that's going to be on the test. So when you take notes, you'll be able to give me a more filled out answer that demonstrates your understanding of that question. This is also extremely important. The answers to the tests will come from the lectures, which of course most of that is coming right from this textbook, but they will not come from Google. You do not want to Google these answers to these test questions. Those will not give you the correct answers. The correct answers will come from the video lectures that I'm going to be presenting to you. So you want to watch those all the way through in their entirety, take notes, prepare for the test from that, and then you should be in good shape. Now, just as I would do in my classroom, if a student just does not show up for a test without any communication whatsoever, that's going to result in a 0. So that's the single worst thing you can do. That demonstrates that you're not committed to the class, that if you don't even know what day the test is on. You don't want to do that. Trust me, that will basically destroy your grade for the semester to have a 0 on the test. So you want to keep up. You want to be proactive. You want to be engaged in this class. Want to know ahead of time what's going on. You certainly want to know what day the tests are on and to be prepared for them. Now, if a legitimate emergency comes up, now you're going to have a 9-hour window to take that test, so you should most definitely be able to plan around that. But you would, if something catastrophic happens on the day of that test where you're not able to negotiate 35 minutes within that 9-hour window, yeah, you need to alert me immediately. But that has not been an issue. I've been teaching this class for several years. So you've got ample time to take that test within that 9-hour window and to plan ahead for it. Because if you miss it, you cannot take it after it's been graded and posted on Moodle. So there are no makeups. There's no extra credit. There's no extensions on any of the tests. You've got to be ready. You've got to be prepared, proactive, engaged in the class. Now, if you're eligible for any accommodations, let me know immediately, because I need to be ready for that well before the test. If you're trying to get accommodations, let me know so that I'm alerted to that, and then inform me by sending me the official paperwork as soon as you get it. Now let's talk just a few minutes about the paper assignment. Now, we're not going to worry about this too much right now. The main thing that you want to be doing now is just thinking about a topic in the United States that has something to do with or that government is going to be affected by, or that government has to deal with. So there's there's really not much out there in the United States that national government, obviously, traffic signals in the middle of your town, that's really not going to be all that relevant to national government. But when you look at any of these fairly big, broad issues that we're dealing with in America right now, the federal government is either dealing with them already or is going to have to deal with them, or that they're affecting federal government in some way. So there's lots of topics out there, and we've got a small enough class to where we should be able to spread out those topics to where everybody's writing about something a little different. So the first thing I'm going to want from you, and it won't be due until Wednesday, March 8th, and that is just a 1/2 page summary of your topic, 1/2 page double spaced, in a Word file attached to the forum that I'm going to set up. And that's for a reason, so that I can use that Word file to give you some comments in the margins and then send it back to you. Your Word file is universal enough. If you have any issues, I can show you how to convert whatever you're using. I can show you how to convert that into a Word file that you will attach to the forum. I'll give you some feedback on it. Your summary will describe the topic that you want to write about and briefly why, because all I need is a 1/2 page. And it probably would be useful to tell me, you don't have to put it in a citation, just tell me one credible news source that you may have read that kind of helped you get a little bit more informed on that topic. Then we'll deal with the formal peer-reviewed sources later on. But for now, all you need to do is to start thinking about a topic. Now, keep in mind, you're going to want to read this syllabus more than once. In fact, every time you have a question, before you shoot me an email, read the syllabus first, because most of the time that is going to address it. Now, keep in mind, if you don't turn things in on time, there's penalties for that, just like there would be out there in real life. And just like I would in the classroom, if somebody doesn't turn in their topic summary on the day that it's due, you're going to be penalized similar to what you would be penalized if you were absent. So there has to be consequences for those types of things, because it wouldn't be fair to the other students that are diligently doing the assignments and turning them on time. So keep that in mind. Following instructions and meeting deadlines is going to be part of what you do for the rest of your life, so you might as well get used to it now, right? Now, you might be asked to resubmit your summary if it's not clear, or if it's kind of vague, or if other students are writing about that same topic. I might ask you for your second choice, but there's not going to be a penalty for this. All I'm going to want to do is get those topics locked in as soon as possible, with a fairly clear goal of what you want to write about. And it needs to be specific enough so that you can analyze it with peer-reviewed academic journal sources. You don't want it to be so broad and vague that it just becomes, really not worth analyzing, because I'm going to be talking about the broad general topics in class. The paper assignment is an opportunity for you to zoom in on something that you find interesting and then analyze it, examine it a little bit more thoroughly with those peer-reviewed academic studies. That's the opportunity for you to delve a little bit deeper. So you're going to want to find an interesting topic that you can examine. Now, your paper is not due until Wednesday, April 26th, also in a Word file, 4.5 pages minimum. That is really not a very long paper, so what you're going to want to do is put the best, most interesting information into your paper. Now, that 4.5 page minimum does not include your reference page. We'll talk about that in more detail later on. But just like with your paper topic summary, all of your writing assignments will have the same format. They will all be double-spaced, 12-point font, Times New Roman, 1-inch margins. All of them will be the same. Consistency is very important, particularly with this online class, because I'm getting a lot of stuff from a lot of different students that are being posted here and there. So consistency is very important. So you want to follow those instructions as well. And when I talk about citations, the format for those have to be exact as well, because that's going to be important to the credibility of your source. If it's not cited correctly in the proper format, then that leaves a question as to whether it's a credible or legitimate source. Speaking of sources, there'll be a minimum of 6 references for your paper, at least 4 of which will be the peer-reviewed academic journals. So don't worry about that right now. I will feed you that information as we go as to what they are, how to find them, how to cite them. As I said here, videos, additional instructions, examples will be provided as we go. Main thing for you now is to just be thinking about an interesting topic that you'd like to write about. One other important note about the paper: this will be an objective, critical examination of the issue. It will not be an editorial. You will not be spouting your opinions as to what you think about what's right or wrong about this topic. And these are some things that I can give you feedback on as we go, particularly in your forums, because you want to get in the habit of being objective and being analytical when I ask you to respond to these various things, because that's going to help you in your paper as well. One thing that we're really good at is expressing our opinions and telling everybody what we think. You don't need a college degree to do that. What we want to do here is learn how to analyze, how to understand what's going on, the whys and the what fors, how to figure out what the social costs are to this particular issue, or what the unanticipated consequences are to this particular policy, without the normative biased rhetoric, without the urge to editorialize. And I know a lot of students are in such a habit of that it's difficult for them. So that's why we'll have exercises along the way that will try to help gear us to an objective, critical examination of that particular issue. The bottom line is that what you're trying to do here is to demonstrate what you have learned from your sources. So the key here is to read a lot, find some good, legitimate, credible sources, read a lot, and then describe to me what you have learned. And you can't go wrong if you do that. You're reading a lot, you're learning a lot, and then you're describing to me what you've learned. You don't want to copy and paste. Students are graded primarily on their ability to gather that information from credible sources and then display their understanding of that topic in their own words, what they've learned. And that's where real learning occurs, is when you read some of these sources that in some cases may be pretty dense, but you've figured out what it is that they are studied and how they've measured it and what their conclusions are. And then you taking that understanding, putting it into your own words, into another paper for somebody else to read, that is powerful stuff. That's where learning really occurs, when you do that. Now, I will be providing a guide later on to writing your paper that is accumulation of advice and of things that I've noticed over the years in grading thousands of papers. And it will also talk about the 3 basic criteria that I'll be using to grade your paper. So we'll get into that more later. Now, as far as the honor code goes, any form of cheating will not be tolerated, and you could get expelled from school for cheating. Once that test period starts, there will be no communication whatsoever between the students when that test starts, which is typically around noon. So during that 12 noon to 9 p.m. period, 9-hour window that people have to take that test, no communications whatsoever. Also, if there's any suspicious similarities between any students' test answers, that could warrant an investigation. So you want to abide by the honor code. It's extremely important. As far as your paper goes, obviously, that is your own work. Plagiarizing your paper from any other source is forbidden. I will give you some instructions on how to cite your quotes. I'll also giving you some feedback on how to paraphrase from your paper sources, because that's most of what your paper is going to be, is that you're going to be reading a lot and learning a lot from these sources, and then you're going to be paraphrasing what you've learned from those sources, and then occasionally putting in a quote there that helps sum it up at the end of that passage there, and then I will show you how to cite your quotes. Now let's look at the test makeup. I've already touched on this a little bit. Each test is 20% of the grade, 60% for all 3 tests. Keep in mind, for each test, there's no makeups, no extra credit, no extensions. The paper is 25% of your grade, so you want to put some good effort into that paper to give me your most interesting, informative stuff that you found, because that's what you want to do. You want to make it interesting. You want to make it informative. You don't want to just talk about stuff and tell me what you think. You want to show me what you've learned. Be descriptive. Use details, examples. Tell me what those conclusions were in your own words. Now, there is a late penalty that accrues the longer it goes. You want to turn that thing in on time. Obviously, I can't accept it after May 3rd, and there's no incompletes given in the course. You'll have ample time and opportunities to turn in everything that you need for the course, and the participation, as I said, is 15% of the grade. All right, some general guidelines here as far as your class schedule go. Like I said, the deadline to respond to each discussion forum is 9 p.m. each Monday and Wednesday. Those are our class days. Video lectures will be posted before 7 o'clock in the morning. Any assignments that are due on that particular day, again, 9 p.m. is the deadline when they will need to be attached to Moodle, typically in a Word file. And again, the tests. Tests will also be on either a Monday or Wednesday. You'll see the schedule here in a second. And the test deadline will also be 9 p.m. on that day. So let's just run through the schedule very quickly. You're looking at this lecture right now, the introduction to the course, and going through the syllabus in detail. The next one will be Chapter 1, looking at a general intro to some terminology of government and politics. Discussion forum, like I said, will follow all of the video lectures. Today's discussion forum will be simply just the opportunity for you to introduce yourself to the class through the forum. We'll also get a chance to meet each other on the weekly video conference as well. Then we'll look at Chapter 2 in quite a bit of detail, because I want to spend some time on the Constitution. Why do we have the Constitution? What were the factors that led to it being created? Then we'll talk about what's actually in the Constitution. And then we'll talk about what the framers did. And when I say framers, I meant the men. Yes, it was the men back in those days that came together in the convention and put it together. Then they had to take it back to the states and sell it to the states. And that was quite an effort as well, because the states, some of the states did not want a constitution. So we'll talk about those specifics in Chapter 2. Then I'll post a video that's just giving you an overview of the paper assignment, to give you a little heads up on that. Chapter 3 is looking at the concept of federalism and separation of powers. Chapter 4 is looking at civil liberties, civil rights, and also have a short video that I want to present on that day as well. This looking at the 12th Amendment, which is useful in helping to explain the Electoral College, which is still confusing to a lot of people today. And on Monday, March 6th is test number 1, so you can put that on your calendar, looking at chapters 1 through 4, as well as any other supplemental material that is discussed in this section. Of course, that will be shown to you on the study guide. So that will be test number 1, posted around 12 noon that day. You'll have until 9 p.m. that evening to take that test within a 35-minute window in one sitting. The second section of the class, I'm going to have a video on the scientific method, which I give in all of my classes, regardless of what the subject is. I want to talk about how to look at things more scientifically, and that will probably help you somewhat in preparing for your paper topic. And then when you're reading about it, you want to stay objective, stay analytical. The paper topic summary is also due that day, a 1/2 page summary in a Word file attached to the forum that I put on Moodle. Then we'll have a spring break on March 13th, 17th, and we'll come back, talk about Congress, the presidency, and then I want to break up Chapter 7 into the executive branch, the structure of the executive branch, and then the bureaucracy, which is what the executive branch does. The bureaucracy is the administrative function of the executive branch. Also, here I'm posting a video that's going to give you a little bit more inside information on peer-reviewed academic journals. And then I want to talk about here the federal courts. And then test number 2 is on April 5th, looking at chapters 5 through 8. And then the last third of the course, we'll be talking about public opinion in the media, elections, political parties, interest groups. And then I want to break up economic policy into 2 parts. A lot to talk about there. Also, on one of these days, I want to put a short video just giving you a little recap of what you need to look for in finalizing your paper before you turn it in. Then on April 26th, Economic Policy Part 2, and that's when your paper will be due on that day. Then we'll wrap it up with foreign policy. That's broken up into 2 videos, but I'll put both videos there on the same day. And then test number 3 on Wednesday, May 3rd, covering those final chapters 9 through 14. Okay, so that's really what I wanted to talk about for today's first video, making sure that everybody's on the same page with respect to participation in the grade and our schedule going forward there. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me at rlaird@bergen.edu. And also this week, I want you to get together on a forum that I'll set up to come up with your weekly video conference meeting times, and then we'll start those next week. They will not be any longer than 30 minutes, but schedule those for either Monday or Wednesday, and that way we'll have a little bit more interaction throughout the course, a little bit more opportunity for Q&A, to clarify anything, for me to give you some face-to-face announcements, that sort of thing. All right, so good luck, and I will see you in class, and then next week we will get together on some video conferences. Once y'all get that set up, I'll send a WebEx link on that. Okay, see you then.